Let's move on to some interaction between two characters now. So what I've done, I've created a new document. You'll find this in the package called stickman_fight, and what I've got here, I've got a rectangle at the back here just for some white colour to give us like a nice clean background, and then from the library where we've stored the character, I've dragged him out onto the stage twice, so we've got the character on two separate layers. And what I think I'll do, I'll drag the timeline out. Let's keep going. We'll give ourselves quite a few frames here, so I'm just going to pull. It's quite far out, so let's go to about 550 frames, so round about there. And then all the way down, I'm just going to scroll down, hit F5, so we can expose these characters in the background for the duration there. Okay, so I'm just going to hit save, and now I'm just going to pose these characters out so they're facing one another. So let's work on this character first, which is the top player. So I'm just going to lock this character and work on this one first. So I'm just going to bring him down to around the ground plane there, and let's start to just pose him out using the transform tool here. Okay, so let's just get some kind of a basic natural pose going here. Again, as this is a silhouetted character, we can cheat a side view here very easily. So I'm going to hit just 4 to flip this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop the characters just below this line, so we're not sitting right on top of it. We've got some kind of a, you know, give us a bit of distance behind this line, so we're just not sitting on it. We're not kind of looking as if we're walking a tightrope there. Okay, so let's bring this character down. Do something similar here. Obviously facing the opposite direction. Let's have this arm going more this way. Okay, so we've got a kind of, at the moment, a front three-quarter view there, almost. Okay, let's bring him down around the same distance there. Okay, so this is our setup. We've got the two characters on the stage here, so we're going to have them approach each other and start to commence battle there. So I think what I may do is have this character on the left hand side running towards the character on the right here. So I think what I might do is import that the key poses we looked at earlier when we created the run cycle. So I think I'll import that, then we'll put a couple of steps of running over the top so we can approach this character. So what I'm going to do is import that. So it's File, Import Images. Okay, so let's have put it in colour, because remember we had the different colours there on the left and right legs. So browse. This has come up on the other screen, so I'm just navigating to the file I want to import there, and then OK that. So I'm creating a new layer for this. Okay, so this looks as if it's dropped all the way to the bottom here. So let's yeah, okay. So let's bring this just here. I'm going to lock everything else. And let's bring this down to size. Okay, something like that. And I'm just going to expose this up till around frame 50, because we'll delete this later on. Let's lock down the original layer there. Okay, so I've got everything locked down except this character. So what we want to do is start to pose this out on top here. So remember, the drawing I've just brought in is obviously a slightly different proportion to the character we got, so we're just using it as a rough guideline. So as long as we get the poses correct, that's all we're looking for. It's a good idea to use things like this rather than going in blind. I mean, once you've learned the poses, you could go in and do it without any reference. So I've just brought this in to show you a nice, easy and quick way to develop this. You could also import a storyboard, so you could maybe make a page storyboard of, say, 12 sequential images, so you could have the character running, then this one punching, and so on, and use that as a guideline. I think what we're going to do is just use the template for the run cycle, and then we'll just kind of, as we go along, just start to pose these out. So I don't want him to start running at the very start of this. I want to have a few frames before he starts, so maybe around frame 20 I'm going to have him run. So I'm just going to hit this here to create a keyframe, and what I might do, I might add a slight hesitation or movement in the first 20 frames, but I'll come back and do that later on. We're just going to pose this out into the run cycle now. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be where he starts the run. So just before that I want to keyframe that again, just so we've got this here, and then we're just going to key pose these out and then stretch them out. Okay, so let's move in. Oops. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is just tilt this piece over. Okay, so I'm just using the transform tool for this. I'm not concerned with using the IK at this moment. Okay. Okay, so that's roughly the first one. So I'm going to go to the next available frame and keyframe there. So this is where we'll change this, and I'm just going to slide over the key poses. So I'm just going to unlock the run pose and just kind of scooch this along to around here, lock this down, unlock the character again, and let's continue. And again, with a silhouetted character like this, you obviously get lots of overlap, so when the animation plays out, all will become clear. Everything kind of looks bunched up at the moment. Okay, so add the next keyframe, and let's scooch over the artwork. Oops. Okay, so the leg that was on the ground is now in the back position. So I'm just going to hit, I've selected the lower leg. I can't seem to reach the top of the leg there clearly, so I'm just going to hit B, which will take us up in the hierarchy. Okay, let's bring this back and have the toes pointing down, and this leg is now in this position. And this is the arm that will come forward now. So it's this arm that will start to come back. Okay. So it's keyframe. Unlock the drawing layer. And now we're in the opposite pose here. Okay, so this comes back to here, and again you can see here where the drawing's different from the character. I'm just using it as a guide just to make sure I get the poses. Then we'll go in and delete the drawing guide we've got here. Okay, so this is the arm that comes back. So let's turn this off for the moment. So we have, just to check how many poses we have the standing still, so I think maybe another step or two here. So we need to keyframe our character here and move this along. Okay, so this leg now comes back this way, and this leg is kind of contacting the floor. This comes forward, this comes back. Let's keyframe here, move this along. Okay, one more keyframe. Okay, let's turn off the run poses there so we can see the ground layer. So because we're using the horizontal line in the background and we're not placing the feet directly on top of it, we should get a nice effect there. So what we need to do is space out these key poses to create the tweens, because between each keyframe we're going to need a tween there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to save the file as it is. It's a good idea to save once you've created you know, some quite important information. Just file save. And what we're going to do is just start to stretch out these key poses here. So I'm just going to drag all of them, and let's put them 10 apart at the moment, just so we've got a nice even distance between all of them, and we can see what's going on here. Okay, so he'll be running on the spot, so from frame 1 to 20 there won't be any movement, and then from here he breaks into the stride. And I think at this point will be where this character attacks. He would have approached him by now. What we need to do is add the kind of bounce to the run here, the up and down. So here, along here, we need to add that. Okay, so let's bring this back. So in the second pose we need to kind of hunker down a little bit. Okay, so first pose, second pose. So around here what I'm going to do is just come in and maybe, oops, nod this forward. That may give us, and here I think I'll just tilt it back a little bit. Okay, so because we're not running directly on the top of this line here, we can get away with these feet here. If you watch, you know, we don't really have to do any work there with shifting the feet onto the, making sure that it's consistently on this line here. So we've kind of created a run there. Oops. So I think at this point I'm just going to delete the run poses. We're just going to have one run in this scene. Okay, so we're going to now move this character over to this character approaching. We could attach this to another peg and just shift in time across here, but I think what I might do is actually move this across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a little marker where this foot is on a separate layer. So I'm just going to quickly add a new drawing layer. Just going to grab the pen tool, just any colour, and just around there just going to F5 so we copy it onto the next keyframe, and this keyframe here I'm going to bring this up, and this foot that's on the ground I'm going to line up. So what we should have here is movement forward from there, okay? And then what we'll do, obviously we need to expose it for the next one here, because we're going to launch off of this foot. And now bring this forward. So this is just a little tip I come up with while practicing run cycles, so it's just a nice quick fix there. You can use onion skinning, but this is just a nice quick solution. So what we have here, the next one, so again let's see if we can F5 this onto where the next one needs to be, and the back foot we'll line up with this and see if this round about there, see if we get a convincing movement there. Okay, that will be fine. And oops, be careful to draw it on the correct layer as well, so round about there. Okay, so this character, we now need this foot to line up, so let's expose this to the end. Let's go to here, F5. Okay, so we wanted this foot to line up here, and the next pose, and then this final one, this back foot will be kind of in line here. Okay. And here is where this character will contact this one. Okay, so that's a nice little marker system there for quickly getting your character from point A to point B. We've created quite a few steps there, and we just put these two markers in to help us get across there and keeping the feet in the correct contact placement there. So we didn't really have to put any thought work into that at all. We didn't need to wing it or try and line things up by eye. We just used a couple of sketch markers here to drop those in. Okay, so we could delete that layer now. Okay, so again I'm going to save here. At the moment this run cycle is going to be a bit too slow because we've spaced out the keyframes every 10 frames. So if we go to the start here and press play, you can see that's definitely too slow, so we need to close these down. All we're going to do is, I'm just going to keyframe there, is just close these down a few frames. So I think what I'll do, I'll come down about six cells at a time. So I'm just grabbing all the keyframes except the first, and I'm going to pull back 6 frames here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've just kind of got 4 frames between each keyframe. So I'll do this for all of them. Actually, we've got 3 between each keyframe. Okay. Okay, so that's nice and even. Let's go back to the start and see what we have. Okay, that's quite fast. I'm happy with that. So again, at this point, I think I'm just going to quickly save just there. But I think what I'm going to do is add a couple more steps into this run cycle. If we go to the start again and play, we've only really got 1.5 steps there. 1, almost 2. So this pose here, this is our first pose at the start here. So we've created the cycle. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste these 2. So I'm just going to scrub along here. I'm going to hit Control C, go to the correct place here, Control V, and we need to nudge these along, so we know that we need to place a marker at this foot. So again, I'm just going to add this layer, and I think I may keep this one here because we could use it again later on. So let's just place a marker there. Let's F5 that to stretch it out, and we obviously need to bring this pose over the top, and the same here. Okay, so we're right up to this character now. Let's turn off the marker. We'll lock that. Okay, so let's play this from the start now. That's better. I think timing wise that's better. As he's leaping off of this foot into this pose, I think about here would be a good point to strike the character, rather than if he was in this pose. In this pose he's all kind of stretched out. We've got no real sort of point of contact, whereas here, you know, we can clearly reach the face or the chest, and it would just look better in the animation rather than this pose. At this point we can do a bit more. Okay. Okay, let's move back here. I think just here we just want to put some kind of incidental movements here. So maybe I'll keyframe around here, and just a couple of frames later just kind of do this little bit of movement here, just to show that there is something there. Okay, so I'm going to keyframe there. So we've got movement here, but I don't want this to come down again here, so I'm just going to go here, take out the motion there, so we've just got a stop motion here, and then it starts to come down and then break into the run. So let's take a quick look at that. So we've just got a bit of readying going on there. I may even bring this back a couple of frames just so we slow it down slightly. Okay. So at this point, this is where the character's going to strike the character. So it'll be halfway through this pose as he's approaching this. Round about here is where we're going to strike. Okay, I've just F6 there just so we know we've got a keyframe there. Okay, so we need to figure out what this character here is going to do. So let's lock the one we've been working on, move over to the next one. So around here I guess he would be thinking this character's approaching, so he may ready himself and maybe lean back round about here. So let's F6. Let's F6 around here. And I think what I'm going to do is lock the feet down, so we'll be using IK on this character. So let's move in. This foot will lock, so transform tool, IK tool, go to the tool properties, use the nail and the hold orientation, and exactly the same with this foot here. Okay, so also remember at the moment we're rotating, so we need to change the behaviour of this point. So let's change that. So we just need to make sure we select the correct one, and we go, remember we go to this icon here next to the hold orientation, which will enable translation to the pivot point at the top of the hierarchy. So this is the peg pivot point. So we create this crosshair in the middle. So this will change the behaviour of this now. So we've got this kind of movement going on. Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's take a second to just figure this out. So the character's approaching. Okay, so I think here, actually I'm going to go back to the transform tool. I'm just going to raise the arms a little bit. Oops. Just to show some movement there. So let's go back and play this. So it's like, you know, he's scrolling along and he's all of a sudden become alert, as if to say, you know, what's going on. And then a slight pause. So I think around about here we'll keyframe. So this button here, and between these two I don't want any motion. I mean, there's nothing happening here, so we can leave it as is at the moment. And then between here and let's say around here we'll lean back. So we'll add a keyframe, we'll switch to the IK, and I just want to tilt the body back like this, so we're shifting the weight onto this back knee. Let's tilt the head back down. Okay, so let's quickly play this. So this is where he's leaning back to gain the momentum for a punch here. So good idea to save. And the punch will be quite a quick reaction here. So we could be almost dealing with some stop motion here where we snap between 2 frames for the punch. So he's leaning back. I think at the same time around here, I guess the arm could be coming backwards to develop the punch forward. So let's use this. Oops, didn't want that to be on that frame, I want it on this one. So I might bring this all the way back here. I guess this arm will come back to here. Put it on the wrong frame. So we're drawing the arm back, and I guess here we could just lean back a touch more here. So let's switch to the IK. Oops. And I just want to see if we can lean back just a touch more. And then it will just be pop, so this will pop round about here. So let's keyframe. And I think here we'll keyframe again, and we'll just kind of jolt forward with the punch. So press B to go up the hierarchy. Okay, let's go back to the start here and just play this back. Zoom out. Okay, so that's a very fast punch there. So we're using a bit of stop motion animation. That's going to be a very quick punch, and on contact this character will now react. So on this character, the head would literally go back like this. Okay, so let's save. And here the character is going to kind of move backwards, so I think it'd be a good idea to lock this foot down in position on this character. So in this frame, let's keyframe. Right, we're going to nail it, but we're not going to hold the orientation. And then let's give ourselves a bit of a gap there. We'll keyframe. And let's just see. We need to tilt this back, so again we need to work on this pivot. We need to change this pivot here, remember. So let's go to the IK, and we need to change it. It's this pivot here. So just click and apply the translation. So now we should be able to move the whole body back. Like so. Oops. Okay. So I'm just going to start to tilt the head forward. So you see here I'm using a mix of IK and using the transform tool. So the arms will kind of move back here to account for balance. And this leg will start to move back also. Okay, again let's play from the start. You want to continually review as you're moving along. Okay, so play. Oops, let's go back. Oops, we've got a slight bit of movement there we don't want. Okay, so this is because we've got all these frames after we're going up to about 550 frames, so this is just going to slowly tween all the way, so we don't want that. Okay, so I think what we need to do here is keyframe. So we're going to roll back onto this foot here, so I just want to bring it down maybe around there. Okay, so maybe a bit further. So you see we're rolling from toe to heel, so we're lowering the body there. Okay, let's quickly check, because I've got this arm moving up here. I think we've probably got a stray key point. There we are, this key pose here. I'm just going to delete this. That's why that arm was wandering all through the timeline. I must have by accident hit a keyframe there. Okay, so let's go to the start. Let's zoom out. Okay, so at this point where this foot is hitting, I'm going to lock this one down now and we're going to stumble back. So I think what I'll do is bring this drawing back here, and I'm just going to draw in a foot reference here. Let's lock this, and remember that this foot on the character is locked, so we need to go in and unlock this via the IK. So that's unlocked, and we need to lock this one. So over to the IK, lock. Again, I'm not going to lock the hold the translation there. Okay, so this is where he's going to regain his balance. He's going to stumble back and then come back up here. So I just want to, round about here, expose this marker a bit longer. So let's go about here. Somewhere like that. Okay, I think I'll tilt this body up a bit. Keep placing movement on the keyframe after. I want it on the same one here. Actually, let's have this. Okay, let's go to the start. Now he's going to straighten up here. So where I've raised this foot up in the air, it's going to come back down into this position again. So I just wanted to, where he stumbles back, he obviously lifts a leg up. He's leaning back now, he's going to come forward and land on his feet again. So about here. Okay, in hindsight we may not needed to lock anything, but let's lock this foot down now. Oh, actually no, that's correct. I locked the right one down now. We're swapping over again. So sometimes you can just forget which one you're working on. So we're back to this foot now because we want to straighten up and bring this foot down. So Doesn't matter if we're, you know, too far off, because remember, you know, with this, his foot could go down in a slightly different place. It's not an exact science, so maybe something like that. Oops, I know what I've done. I've got to add a keyframe. So I've done all that work and I've got to add a keyframe. And that can happen. You get carried away with all the tweening and everything. Actually, let's bring him forward because the weight would come forward slightly. So always remember to add your keyframes. Okay, let's go back yet again. Yeah, that's a nice move. It's nice and snappy. I quite like the reaction and the stumble back there. So he kind of quickly regains his posture to get ready to defend himself while this one comes forward. So let's save. Just constantly saving as soon as we create something we like, just so everything's safe. Okay, so I think we're running at about the hour mark on this segment, so I'm going to pause the video here and continue into the next video.